using this front channel is something that seems to be alien for a lot of people, which is why it's something that I do like to highlight in my seminars.
Okay, Rob, so why don't you set the stage for this video? I know that this video has been seen by a bunch of people online. They've got various comments and so forth. But why don't you kind of like talk about, what you're trying to do here with this video. I'll play it once and you can kind of like walk us through it.
The front through the chin. Through the chin. If I want to bring, so Fred's going to keep me from bringing this down. I can bring this opposing force into me by bringing my chin forwards, causing my collarbone to drop, chest to drop, stomach to drop, my hips drop, my knees bend as a result until I feel this weight in my hara. Now I can kind of like bring him down like this.
All right, Rob, so why don't you set the stage for us?
Yeah, so this is the Amsterdam seminar, and I think Nicholas was filming this bit. It's pretty much as I say it. And by the way, this is only one component. I am exaggerating one component out of like a bunch of different components there that Akazawa Sensei uses. But I think using this front channel is something that seems to be alien for a lot of people, which is why it's something that I do like to highlight in my seminars. And one thing that I think is interesting in that when you exclusively use this front channel to do something like what I'm doing is that pressure at the point of contact tends to decrease and just dissipate. I did notice that there were comments where people are like, oh, he's using a mental trick, or oh, he changed the angle. I was like, okay, it's not a mental trick, although you could technically just think of the same instructions and then your subconscious will just automatically create like the same kind of like what do you call micro adjustments down the line, and you can accomplish the same thing without having to do an exaggerated movement. Okay, but before you could even get in that area, you have to exaggerate. Your brain actually has to understand my chin here is connected to my collarbone, which is then connected to my chest, which is then connected to my stomach, to my hips, the quad area, to my inner thigh area, et cetera, et cetera. And unless you exaggerate it like in a really big manner, like personally, I think like good luck trying to understand how that actually works. If you shoot for small movement from the beginning, I don't know. It just seems like a really long way to get it. In fact, I've caught Akazawa Sensei exaggerating this movement when he trains. Not in the same way, but he was using weapons at the time. But yeah, for sure, he was exaggerating it a little bit.
No, I mean, I think Mike and I both have kind of a general idea of how you lay out your seminars. I mean, obviously we weren't there specifically for this one, but I think one of the comments was saying how you're trying to like establish a connection from your chin all the way down to your hip area and groin and everything else. Mm-hmm. But I assume this is not the first part of the seminar. You probably talked about some other things before you got to this point where you're demonstrating the chin. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. Correct. So I mean, we've talked about, even on this channel, we've talked about center line, precarious balance, and all these other things. Like those are other aspects that are covered, in these seminars. This is just one aspect. And if it's something that you haven't tried, I suggest that you just try it rather than try and armchair it. I noticed that comment about the angle. The angle is actually a result. The angle that, so when I push down on him, right, even if I were to pull him towards me, I'd still get a block in the shoulders. because I actually haven't like dissipated that force or caused the force to decrease at the point of contact. It's only after I cause those changes in the body, and I even give that cue. I'm talking about cues here for people. I'm not talking about how it works, because ultimately I think how is, it's an interesting question, but it's actually not germane. It's like elite football players, elite baseball players generally don't know the nitty gritty of how everything works. They just know that it works. And the coach has to know how to get other people to reproduce that effect. So all I'm doing in this case is coaching people on exactly what they need to do in order to reproduce the effect that I'm talking about. And so I'm also talking about the cues that I feel personally, in order to get the result that I demonstrate.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair thing to say. I mean, if you already have that knowledge, then I think it's maybe it's worth a discussion to have in terms of how it works.
Yes.
But if you don't have that knowledge already, you're not going to be able to appreciate how those results are actually created. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of interesting things that you are doing in this video that we can see. You know, you'd mentioned before about glute dominant movement, and I think there's certainly some cues to look for in there. I think, you know, look at your feet. Like if we go back here, okay, we don't have the best view of this here, but generally speaking, I don't know if you can see the pointer on my mouse or not, but you know, your feet are pointed. They're not parallel to Fred at all. No. You know, you have them out going on an angle, and you know, when you first start talking to me about glute dominant movement, I had kind of I guess a little bit of an epiphany. I was saying, hey, that sounds exactly like, you know, a large fat guy walking. You know, when you have your legs out in that direction, your feet out in that direction, that causes the glutes to activate, and you know, you look like a fat dude. And it's kind of funny how that works there. You know, we also, people again talk about the angles. You know, when you watch what happens to you, maybe I don't think I can slow it down so much on this one. Maybe I can actually. Yeah, nice. We got a playback speed adjustment here. I might have to jump slightly forward. Yeah, I think it's around like 20 seconds or so.
Oh. You can see it's changed step by step too.
Yeah.
This is not anything crazy.
Yeah, you can see the sequential drop as you said that. You know, okay, so people are talking about the angle here. Rob's pulling back an angle towards your knees. I mean, part of that's going to be just the path that it follows. But watch your body movement. Don't just watch the hands and the angle of the staff. Watch what happens to Rob's body. Right? It goes slightly back, but then your body is going forwards as your hands go back. Now, why would you do that, Rob? Why would, I mean, is there any particular reason why you'd want your body to go forwards as the hands are going back there?
No, it's just keeping in balance, basically. It's just automatic. I'm not even thinking about it. So a lot of times people ask me about what angle is it, et cetera, and I tell them, don't worry about it. That's not the cue that you should be focusing on. You know.
I mean, I'm sure Mike would say the same thing. You know, when our hands go out, our body moves, whether it's going forwards or back. I'm kind of overemphasizing where my body is moving right now, but you see your body will shift back and forth to offset that weight. I mean, it's like if you took like a kettlebell or a gallon of milk and you put it out in front of you, you raise it up, you're going to get naturally pulled forward. So you got to do something to counterbalance it.
And you're training this in the exercises, like tension. You're not doing it. You're not just straight up and down the whole time, or not straight. What do you mean straight up and down? But
or you're
like,
not
trying to be like a stick, and you're just like solid one piece, and nothing else moves. Like your hands move, your body has to adjust to compensate where they are.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to emphasize that when I'm teaching too. Otherwise, it becomes a very dull exercise.